few months ago, exactly like 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, I bumped into this girl who had a major traumatic experience that that really affected me negatively. You know, now what was the story? This girl, when she was 14, 15, this by the way happened in the southeastern part of Nigeria, right? For some reasons I wouldn't call this specific state. And when she was 14, 15, she had this guy who was in his early 30s, who was living in that same community. And of course, his family had some form of power and influence. And he forcefully took this girl away from her home and was sleeping with this girl from the age of 14, 15. And this probably happened for a very long time, between probably for the next 1 year, 2 years. Now, the highlight of this experience, this traumatic experience for this young teenage girl was when one of those days, this young man, after he took his kid sister to school, came back, took some substance, and was having sex with this girl from 8 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. to 4 p.m. From what she told me, that there was blood littered everywhere. She was unconscious.
Wow.
Right? He left her and went out. And it was his family members that came back, saw her lying in the pool of her own blood and took her to the hospital where she was unconscious for 2 to 3 weeks. Now, you can imagine that kind of experience. It changed everything for this young girl. Talking to you right now, this girl is into what you call runs. Of course, our society have found fancy ways of calling this thing. Call it prostitution, call it hookup, call it runs, all kinds of things. But she's into it right now.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode. Today we'll be looking at a very dicey but yet important topic. Prostitution, but as it's now referred to as runs or hookup. Prostitution has always been a thing that have existed all through the history of humanity and mankind. And it has always been relegated to the lowest form of people who are just trying to make ends meet, the homeless and all that. But in recent time, it has manifested into a system of hookup where people now use this as a complementary mechanism to the job they do. You could see a young lady who is into one form of business or the other, maybe modeling, maybe she's an actor or an actress.
Yeah.
But hookup or runs have now become a means to complement the business and move her quickly to stardom. So we'll be dissecting this today and trying to find out where did this start from? What is the major impact of this in the society and what is the way forward? So starting with the inception of runs now, not just prostitution. We have always known that prostitution have existed all through the history of mankind and all that.
Yeah.
There have always been prostitutes, there have always been brothels. But where did this whole philosophy, this whole thing about runs and hookup, how did it start, especially for a country like Nigeria and a continent such as Africa?
It's not too far-fetched. In the 90s, just like we all know, the 90s, 80s, 70s, this very institution was not pronounced, right? Now, what was the difference? For me, the internet, the social media space, right? The social media space has made this an institution, has actually made this a culture, right? What you call hookup culture, right? And it has become more prevalent. For instance, let's talk about some of the celebrities that we know today, right? A lady who we literally don't know the source of her wealth, her business or whatever, the moment she comes into any form of platform,
Yeah.
right? Just like you mentioned, be it modeling, right? Be it any social platform. Few weeks later, she's buying cars that those very platforms cannot afford her.
Yes,
Literally.
and the way we know that it's not possible is because there are people who have been in that
Industry.
that have been excellent,
Yes.
that have been good at what they do, but have not manifested the kind of results that these people who just bumped into this did.
Yes.
So obviously, there is some sort of wrongs hookup association to the job, to the
platform,
real
yeah.
thing they do.
Yeah,
And-
literally.
And the social media, in your opinion, is what turned prostitution into a
An
system
institution.
of hookup
Yeah.
and runs.
Yeah.
Turned prostitution into an institution
Yeah.
that pays hundreds of millions to young
Millions, literally. And just like I mentioned before, this has become a social contagion, right? Where this idea literally flows from mind to mind through the social media platform.
Yeah.
Right now, let's talk about the most accessible view social platform that most young people have access to: Instagram,
Yeah.
right? TikTok,
Yeah.
right? And not even YouTube, Facebook, right? And these are platforms that most of these ladies have used to showcase the end results of whatever they did behind the scene, right? And when these young ladies look at this, they can tell because they are doing businesses,
Yeah.
right? But all of a sudden, because you become what you behold, right? You become what you behold. You want to also become someone that you celebrate, someone that you've constantly, want to, literally emulate somehow.
Yeah. Now, here is a question that's been in my heart for a while, that I've actually puzzled on for a long while. There is a claim from the females, from their perspective, that the reason they go into runs and prostitution is because the only thing the males have to demand from the female is sex.
Yeah.
And it's a justifiable reason that the only thing the females have to offer is sex. Then from the male perspective, it's more like the only reason we demand sex is because all you have to offer is sex. That there is nothing a woman brings to the table other than sex.
Yeah.
But the females believe that the reason we offer this is because that is all you demand.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, it's it's a very dicey debate. It's this debate actually has been in a society the longest of time.
Yeah.
But I strongly believe that none of this debate actually matters. Right? That's the truth. Just to think of it, none of this debate actually matters because people are first of all individuals before they emerge or before they are a group or part of a society.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So just trying to justify a prevalent action from a societal perspective will not do you any good. Right? You should judge your actions based on who you are, not based on the societal norm or culture or definition.
Yeah.
Right? But again, let's try to address this because it's still a debate.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still a debate.
It's a profound debate, and I have an opinion. Now, when it has to do with the society, and looking at this from both a business perspective and from an individual perspective, it is the males, that by default are the leaders of society.
Yeah.
We are the ones who set the status quo and the standard at which things are to be done. And it's why males occupy most positions of leadership and all that.
True.
Of course, there is an approach to create a balance of equality and all that. But right now, males occupy more position of leadership. That means most of the ills that exist in the society are first things that are propagated by males before the demand is being matched up to it.
True,
and now,
true.
looking at this from a business perspective, any business that a supply is created without a demand would fail.
Yeah.
Any single business.
Yeah.
Now, for a business to thrive successfully and accurately, there must be a demand that is placed on something that a person have to offer before there is continuity in this business existence. What it simply means is that every single female promiscuity is sponsored by a demand from a man.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. So the reason a lady goes into prostitution, in my opinion, goes into runs, goes into hookup, is because there are men who are demanding this as service. If you take away the demand from the men, the industry dies.
Well, I agree. I agree with that, but I also think that is not the only reason, right, why women literally think that their body is up for sale, right? The society, the pop culture, right, which is basically driven by the music industry, right, and our social networks have made women believe that their body, their physical body, had literally become the value they have to render, to be able to meet up to whatever demand, whatever demand that is required of them outside in the real world. Let me explain this. If you watch most of our videos, music videos, right, the only reason why you find ladies there is because of their physical appearance, right? Their sexual appeal.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Yes. And the truth is, whether we know it or not, that is a message. Of course, music have a unique way of sending messages, of transforming the mindset of the people.
Yeah.
That's how powerful music is, right? So the more you watch these movies, these music videos, right, and you see the role that women play in these videos, it sends sexual appeal.
Yeah.
Right, sexual appeal, and if you're not in those videos and you're watching it, you begin to see yourself in that light, because you think this is what is expected of me, and not any other thing.
Yeah.
You understand? And I think that also goes a long way to shape the mindset of women themselves.
Prostitution and runs and hookup, it's a difficult thing for a female. You have to use your body, use your energy. You have to be exposed to all kinds of diseases and all kinds of,
I mean, it's a risky affair.
It's risky.
It's a risky affair. Why
would a young girl still go into this? Why go into something, it's risky, it's dangerous? I mean, for Christ's sake, most victims of rituals are females in these conditions. Yeah. Most victims of deaths in hotels and all that are females, and they know it that they are victims of these crimes. So why still go into that?
And just to add to your question, another way to put it is prostitution runs a choice. Is it a choice? I think it's something that we need to be sure of. When you decide to go into prostitution, when you decide to go do runs, when you decide to go do hookup, is that your choice? Is that a decision that you're making? Is that a choice, right? I met this girl, by the way. This was early this year, right? Early this year, in my community.
Yeah.
And at the time she was 17, right? 17, and we should take note of this age bracket we're mentioning, right? Because we're still going to address what happens to girls at that age bracket. Why does parenting seems to cease at a particular age bracket, whether unconsciously or consciously by the parents, right? But at 17, of course, with all the dressing concept that is that is going on, in our time, this young lady she's just being a teenager, and then from nowhere the parents assumed that she was sleeping around, right? And a couple of people, neighbors, came. I mean, she told me of this particular guy that been making advances, an elderly guy. And she wouldn't budge, and this guy went ahead to tell the parents that this girl has all kinds of boyfriends, right? Now the parents, without even questioning her, got hold of her and gave her a beating of her life. Of course, this is Africa, right? Where she was manhandled by her parents, right? And in the midst of all that rancor, she ran away from home, right? crying, and then she was somewhere. Now, while she was where she was in an uncompleted school, whatever, she was raped by a guy for 2 days.
2 days.
Yes. She was raped by a guy, and apparently the guy disvenued her there, meaning this girl had never had sex before, right? It was just in notion, it wasn't true, right? But there in that uncompleted building, she was raped for 2 days.
That begs the question.
Yes.
Every single young female who is born, both males or females, every single person is born innocent.
Yes.
Everybody is born without there is no input of prostitution mindset,
yes,
or hookup or rose mindset.
Yes.
So what happens to a young girl from that stage of innocence to becoming
this,
or to be drawn into this system of hookup and all that? What happens to a young innocent girl and makes them accept this system as something to throw themselves into?
So from what I was able to deduce from the story, like this girl and a few others, traumatic experiences, right? Associations, right? But a major of it comes from traumatic experiences. Let's talk about the university, that institution, the tertiary institution, right? A lot of parents parent their kids when they're in the primary school, when they're in the secondary school. But the moment a child goes to the university, parenting seems to cease. Right? The parents, either the dad or the mom, or both of them, have no clue who is now parenting this child. What is forming the perspective, the information? What is forming the paradigm shift that is happening, because something is happening to this girl, right? And from what I've seen over time, having studied our tertiary institution, the tertiary institution has become an institution that alters the destiny of young people. Yes.
Why the parents at home are responsible at that first initial stage for creating education for the kids? Invariably and inevitably, every single association of a young person or the child will always create parenting for the child. So while the school system will create education for the child, the association will create the indoctrination.
That is it.
At every single point in time. So it's the responsibility of every single parent to pay attention to the association that the kids keep. It's the responsibility.
You have to know who are the friends to your kids. You have to be connected with them. You don't disconnect from them just because they gained admission into school, right? And that disconnection always happens from that inception. The moment, and you just go to those institutions, you find teenagers who are in tertiary institutions, right? When I was in school, by the way, I spent about 4 or 5 years before I gained admission to school. So I'd gained some level of exposure and experience. So I could say no to things with a level of conviction. Right? Now, while most of these people might know what is true, they do not know what are lies. Do you understand? And it's by knowing the difference that you properly know how to make decisions or how to make choices. Just knowing what is true is not enough. You need to know what is false, right? But they get that indoctrination in this environment, right? And you need to also understand that some kids are more exposed, more experienced than others, and kids are more influenced by their peers more than their parents.
Very true. It's important to really understand that every single decision that you make that makes you become a thing in the future comes from your environment, comes from your association. It's impossible for you to choose a thing or make a decision that is not part of your environment. So your association are creating elements of decisions, choosing decisions from them. So irrespective of how disciplined you are, irrespective of whatever parental upbringing have been infused or instilled in you, if you're introduced in a new environment and a new association that have more experience, negative experiences, you would make your decisions from them and eventually end up like them. Why? Because if you keep two elements together, One is active, the other is passive.
Passive, yeah.
At the end, the passive one will get influenced by the active one.
Yeah.
So if you have a young girl who is a non-smoker, who is not into runs, she's passive, she's not doing anything.
Yeah.
That was the indoctrination that was imputed in her by her parents. Now she comes to school and she's surrounded by people who are actively going into runs, who are smoking, who are people who are messing up their body. It's only a matter of time, and this time, how long it will take will be determined by how strong the influence the parents imputed is. Might take months, might take years. But guess what? The average study year in school, in the university, coupled with strike and all that, is probably 4 or 5 years. So 4 or 5 years is enough to break any mental fortitude, as long as you put or keep up with the wrong association. It's enough.
Very true.
Constant exposure and association. Now, you spoke about strong emotional trauma. When those people are... Is it a strong emotional trauma as adults, or something that probably happened while growing up?
Traumatic experiences that happen to teenagers or to kids usually forms who they become, whether they deal with it or not. And there is something, while thinking about it, something I found out about Nigeria. Now, the average institutions that form the basis for our transformation in this country are two things, basically. Our schools and our religious platforms. Right? So what that means is that the moment a child gains admission into probably primary school, secondary school, their life is probably triangular. From school to home to church. From school to home to church. Now, whatever traumatic experience this child has is not dealt with, is overlooked. Right? But it stays with the child. It stays with the child. Unlike other, developed nations where you have psychological or most platforms that help people to heal from mental wounds. If you're probably on route and you find yourself in an accident, right? You have a physical opening. You have an injury. You know to treat it, right? Because you probably see blood. But then a lot of people are injured in their mind. But we don't have institutions that proffers solutions of healing to the mind of people. And these traumatic experiences that happens to these people at that early stage is what forms who they eventually become or how they deal with it, right?
Now, it's important to note from what you stated that most of the emotional trauma that young people go through is caused by the recklessness and carelessness of parents or guardians. That is because most often, as teenagers and as kids undergoing this traumatic experiences in homes, these are homes where parents pay more attention to business, to providing for the family rather than protecting the family.
There was a study I did on this, and it was amazing what I found out. In the 60s and the 70s. Mothers were at home, right? They were not hunting for money or literally looking for livelihood like our mothers of today, right? So what that meant was that mothers were home builders, right? They ensured that the kids were trained. They understood all the activities that their children get involved with. But as time increased, as time went on, right, and then women began to get developed, and which is not wrong, which is not wrong at all, right? The father goes to work, the mother goes to work, the children stay at home, probably stay with a maid or probably stay with a help, right? And then you find out that right now there is no connection anymore, right? There's no connection with the parent and the kids anymore, right? And a lot of times, from what I've also found out, is that in our time and age, most of these children now develop some form of connection with their peers, right? Or with whoever that they seem to have developed some form of relationship or bond with over time, right? And the truth is, no one knows how to parent a child more than their parents. Do you understand? Because there is this thing within parents that makes them want to be responsible for their offspring.
Yeah.
Right? No one else has that responsibility but the parent. Now, if that is taken off, right, what that means is your kids are probably going to become praise to people that are not their parents, whether they know it or not.
So the excessive focus on provision for a family, it shouldn't be the primary assignment.
Yes.
You could still provide for the family, and then the most important thing about the child, their mind, their character is destroyed.
Literally destroyed.
Mentorship, guidance, and most importantly, providing careful teaching and education and indoctrination for this child is one thing that parents don't pay attention to. So it's reckless as a parent that your entire focus is on provision. You work from 9 to 5 and you don't pay attention to what happens to your kid, and they go through those strong traumatic experiences. It creates it molds who they are. It molds their perspective.
It's painful to know that a lot of parents don't even know that their daughters have been raped multiple times.
Yes,
multiple times. I had this very death experience, and that happened in the southwestern part of this country, where a driver was driving a kid to school. True story, by the way. Driving a kid to school, and then they came to this traffic whatever, and someone who was in her car, a mother who was in her car, overlooked into this, and it was an SUV, and the child, this girl is in primary school, was giving the driver a blowjob.
Oh, wow.
Yes, was giving the driver a blowjob, and this woman saw it and screamed, and the driver zoomed off, and she turned, looked at the plate number and then traced the school. Then went, saw the plate number and saw that it was a religious leader that literally owns the car, and traced the church, and that's how she told them. And a lot of parents are disconnected from their kids.
Now,
have no idea of the traumatic experiences they're going through.
Something very important that is worth noting. Rapes and some of this malevolence that gets carried out in the society. Most parents and most guardians and people in important position believe that rape is caused by the indecency of female exposure, the way females dress and all that. And so most parents believe that if they teach their kids to dress properly, if they teach their kids to dress decently, they won't be raped. But here is a profound statement that you all don't have to forget or shouldn't forget. The only reason a rape gets carried out is because it is being perpetuated by a rapist. People rape not because of the indecency of the female, but because they are rapists. The only reason a man rapes is because he's a rapist.
It's important. It's important that people get this.
Yes. If females decide to take off all their dresses and walk in the streets naked, there are people who wouldn't rape them. And there are people who would. And the people who would are rapists. It's not because of the female indecency, it's because they are rapists. Now, what that means is, if you expose your daughter to a rapist, irrespective of her decency, she will still be raped. It is who he is. He is a rapist. So the moment you get that, it's going to help you. Why paying attention to other forms of things that are important for this child, while making sure that they're in school, while making sure that they're whatever, it's also important that you make sure that they are not being exposed to a rapist. And the one way of doing that is to be available in their life. Find out who they associate with, find out who they talk with, even when they leave you and they go to school. Even when they associate with their peers, their peers will still be rapists too. It doesn't have to be an elderly man.
To add to this, why would have to let the society knows that most men who engage in rape activities are rapists. It's who they are, and if I don't know if it's something someone inherits, but you should deal with it. It can be dealt with, right? It can be dealt with. But right now, because we are talking about runs, hookup, prostitution, whatever, it's important because I'm trying to address what you said earlier about one reason why this institution is thriving is because of the demand that the males are, making on them. I want to add that it's important that you pay attention, both the mothers, both the parents, and also you young ladies, pay attention to how you dress, right? I need to say this. Most of the models you look at to emulate how you dress are entertainers, right? Entertainers. You don't copy their selling points.
Yeah.
It's what they are doing to sell their services, be it music, be it a movie, right? So you shouldn't copy that and make it a part of your life, right? Because what happens is because of how the female body is designed, right? It literally induces sexual appeal in men. Do you understand? Yet that is why I think, right? Because what happens is if probably a lady dresses, in the sexual appealing way and comes and shows up here, right? I mean, the male would not want to rape her, but the male would want to have sex with her because of how she's dressed,
and
right?
And the indecency of the female would bring out the rapist. The person who is already a rapist now sees a victim.
A victim.
And you could have avoided all that
by just dressing decently.
So now, rounding this up, what is the way forward with this whole thing? What is the way forward? How can the next generation be saved? How can the next generation not be thrown into this system of hookup and runs? Because in my opinion, it has become a complementary mechanism to occupation for most young females. Like I said, most young females are into businesses and they see this as a way to catapult whatever it is that they do. Now, prostitution will always exist.
I was in
it
the
doesn't
city.
have to be the system.
I was in the city last year. This was in January, and by the way, the capital of this very country, Nigeria, and I was speaking. I was opportunity to be in the same room with some top executives, and they were talking about the fact that there are lots of ladies currently in Abuja that literally, do home deliveries.
What does that mean?
Home deliveries mean people who cook at home and deliver and deliver this food they've made, to homes, literally. And he said that is modern prostitution. These men, because these ladies, of course, the food they make or whatever service they're delivering is supposed to be the business. But their body is actually the business because
it complements
the business. Because when they show up to deliver whatever they're selling, right? And what happens eventually is that they also unconsciously begin to market their bodies. Do you understand? So I said this to add to what you said, that already this institution has created this complement to whatever business they're doing.
So what is the way forward? How can the next generation be saved? What is the way forward? Now, I think this can be done from two perspectives.
Okay.
From the perspective of the males and from the perspective of the females.
Very true.
Now, from the perspective of the males, it will only take a responsible and a disciplined man to stop placing demand on the sexuality of females. It has lots of impact on homes and families and on the individual. If men become more responsible, if men become more disciplined, and this discipline and responsibility have to start from the next generation. They have to be taught about the importance of sexuality. Now, the first encounter that a young person gets to learn about sex doesn't have to be from others, doesn't have to be from the internet. It
Yeah.
has to be from the parents.
From the parents.
Indoctrinated.
From the parents. So we need to make that loud enough for you to hear it.
Yeah.
The first place your child, your spouse, your child, right, should know about sex or sexual education should be from the parents.
Yeah.
Right? Any other platform is going to give them wrong information, literally.
Yeah.
Right? It will give them wrong information. Because there are platforms, a lot of young people, watch pornography. Are stuck on pornography.
Yeah.
They call it sex stuff, right? They don't even understand the impact that has on their mind. Do you understand? They just think it's something that they do for fun.
Yeah.
Because we grew up in a world where we didn't grow up with gadgets. We didn't grow up with technology.
Yeah.
But they grew up with technology. So they understand that the dynamics of this operation more than us.
Yeah.
So a lot of things was handed down to us, but they were born with it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So if you do not educate your kids on sexual education, someone else or something else, a platform will educate them.
Yeah.
And you have no idea the extent of the damage it will do on their minds.
Yeah, yeah. So responsibility and discipline have to be top priority for the next generation males.
Yeah.
Now, how do you create discipline for your kids, especially the males? It's not enough to teach them what they are. It's more important to teach them what they are not. So while you're busy telling them they are strong, they're intelligent, they should get first class in school and all that, it's also important to teach them what they are not. That they're not rapists. They don't force themselves upon females. They don't cause trauma.
They don't take advantage.
They don't take advantage of people.
Yeah, because it's important, because right now we live in a world where men have learned how to use their resources, their power, their influence as an advantage over females.
Yeah.
Because men are more inclined to have access to this more than females.
Yeah.
So they know, if I can access power, if I can access influence and wealth, then then ladies can become vulnerable to me.
Yeah.
So whether you know it or not, these things gives you an advantage, but you should know not to use it against the females.
Yeah, so I'm going to let you talk about from the perspective of the females.
Yeah.
But yes, it's important to teach them discipline from a very young age. Let them know what they are, but most importantly, let them know what they are not. Then teach them responsibility. Teach them to stand up to protect the things that are vulnerable in the society.
Yeah.
Let them know how to identify people who might be victims of rape and protect them. But most importantly, let them also be able to identify those who are perpetrators of rape and be able to stop it.
Yeah.
For instance, these rape activities that causes trauma for young people and puts them into and throw them into this whole system of hookup and all that.
Yeah.
There are certain manifested advances that you could notice from this rapist.
Yeah.
The way they touch this.
Yeah, there's a pattern. There's a pattern here.
There's a pattern.
So there's a roadmap to this thing. Yeah.
So people should be taught how to pay attention to this and all that. And this could help curb this whole system that prostitution is turning into. Because outside the fact that the males have to stop making demands on these things from females, what about the perspective of the woman?
Yeah.
How does she not throw herself into this, irrespective of whatever trauma, whatever association she's in? How does she not be part of the system?
Now, this is a very important question for the females. Now, I'm very keen on a paradigm shift, right? And a lot of times we don't even know how this shift happened in our mind, right? But then we only can tell with the things we start doing going forward, right? If you've been in any of those traumatic experiences, first of all, I would really advise that you go get help.
Get help.
It's important. Go get help. Do not think that you are okay. You need help. You need help, right? But I need to say that because one of the things that this traumatic experience damages in these females is their self-worth, their self-esteem, right? And if you've lost that, how do you gain it back? How do you gain it back? Because if you keep two ladies in the same environment, expose them to the same circumstance, one lady is going to solve or create a solution that will be different, that will be legal, ethical, and the other would have to, the other might be influenced by that environment. Now, what was the difference, right? Their mindset. Their mindset. One's mindset has strong sense, have a strong, what's this word? Have a strong sense of value. Right? Value, self-worth, self-esteem, self-love.
So
right?
the same system,
the
same environment, the
same circumstances
that created the monster. Create the queen.
Yes. It's so important. And it's important that you understand that sometimes something that you're doing now that is easy is going to become difficult in the long term. Right? And the other coin is that sometimes something you're doing now that is hard would end up becoming easy in the long term. This has to do, and we said all by saying is hookup a choice. Is one's a choice. You need to understand that it's a choice.
It's a choice.
You are making that choice. Not the circumstance, not the nation, not your environment, not even your association. You are making that choice. So you need to take responsibility. And a lot of times, a lot of people are not aware of the options that they have. You have lots of options. You have lots of options. So one of the things, because I was thinking about this while we're talking, beyond the traumatic experiences, right? One of the things that has plunged a lot of young ladies into this whole hookup institution is a need to create wealth, right? You need to create wealth. Now, if the only thing you know on how to create wealth is by selling your body, you don't have the right information. We live in a world where it has become more easy to make money.
It has become way more
easier to making money.
To make money, especially in the age we live in right now. In the age of the social media and artificial intelligence. Social media makes it easy for you to sell
with technology,
whatever it is you create to a lot of people at once. Even if it's rubbish, even if it's mediocre, even if it's not good enough, it makes it easy for you to find people all over the world that want what you sell at the level it is.
At the level it is.
Then artificial intelligence makes it easy for you to make decisions quickly. Because it does the intelligent thinking for you. The things you should spend weeks coming up with. If you write codes, the things that should take you very long time doing, artificial intelligence gives you the answer in a minute so you can make decisions quickly. So creating wealth have never been more easier. It's just that these young females have the wrong information that they make their decisions from.
So what you need to understand is your sense of self-worth, self-esteem is one of the things you should pay attention to, right? And we might not have the time to help you to guide you on what we know what to do. And in our subsequent episodes, we'll be giving you most of what to do that will help you. The solutions are simple. Yes, they are simple. But you need to get yourself involved in personal development, right? Develop yourself. Put value in yourself. Right? Value is what makes a woman super attractive. You need to understand that, not your body. Right? And we live in a time where there's a lot of attention that women pay on their body.
The body might create the attraction, but what keeps is
the values you have. The values you have. So develop yourself, impute relevant skills that would help give you an advantage. Because a lot of times, a lot of women think they don't have an advantage in life, right? And that mindset alone is the reason why you are disadvantaged. You have a lot of advantage, even in a country like Nigeria. Do you understand? So get involved in personal development. go to school, go to there are various leadership institutions. There's one, Preneur Tribe, right? Preneur Tribe is a platform right now. Find it, get involved, subscribe, and some of these platforms in 6 months. In 6 months,
you'll see the transformation.
You will see the transformation manifest in your life. Yes. So personal development, your sense of self-worth, self-value, self-love. You need to love yourself. If you love yourself enough, you can allow all kinds of men have access to you. It's important because a lot of people, because sometimes what some of this traumatic experience causes is that a lot of these young ladies give up literally give up on themselves. They
don't see the value in themselves anymore. They believe with the past damages that have caused all the overwhelming trauma, that is enough to damage value. Right? But what that only damages is the perception of value. The value is inherent. You can still brush it up.
You can still brush it up. And it's funny because a lot of young people didn't have their parents tell them how valuable they are. Right? And of course we would still address the parents, but right now we're addressing the females, right? You go find help. If you've had any kind of traumatic experience, right? Go seek help. And like we said, in our subsequent episode, we would also, point out ways that you can help yourself out of any kind of traumatic experience that you've been involved in. It's important, right? But then again, get involved in personal development. You're valuable. If you understand how valuable you are, you would impute value in yourself. Yes, you would impute value in yourself.
At this stage, if you stay true to this stage, you should be hitting the subscribe button. Because there are lots of real issues that will be discussed here that is going to help you, help your life, help you transform, and help you improve. Now, we mentioned that one of the things that created the inception of this prostitution as a system is the social media. So in our next episode, we'll be discussing both the positive and the negative impact of the social media, how to use it effectively and efficiently, and the damage it causes also, and most importantly, the way forward. So thank you all for listening.